Hey, what's up, everybody? So recently, I received a cue sheet for the WWE's greatest moments, and they used three of the cues from my cinematic hip hop album, Champions. The first cue that they used was entitled Best of the Best, and they used 11 seconds, as you can see here on the cue sheet. And then the second cue they used was Champions, and they used 22 seconds, and you can see that there. And then the third they used was Ballers Only, and they used 28 seconds of that. Okay, so in this video, we're going to check out Champions, and then I'm going to talk about my approach to the bass, drums, and low brass. So y'all know how we do it. First, we'll take a listen to it, and then we'll talk about it on flip. All right, let's get to it. Hey, what's up, guys? So before we get into the breakdown, I hope that you can tell from my videos that I really have a heart and a passion for teaching. If you're in a place right now where you'd like to level up as a sync composer, I'd love to help you. I've had numerous placements on CBS, CBS Sports, TNT, True TV, Netflix, NBA TV, Discovery, Food Network, Eurosport, and placements in Japan, France, Denmark, Germany, and counting. I offer coaching and consultation, and you can schedule it right on my website. Just look for the link in the description on my channel. Go to the services tab and schedule an appointment. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, and there you have it. That is called Champions. It is in the key of A minor. It's at 130 beats per minute. And let's just start with the kick. As I said, we're just going to talk about the low end real quick. So my kick is a one shot, and I'm going to bring up this screen here for you. So you can see what we're using there. So it's just a one shot that I just put in my sampler and just trigger it right from, just play it in, play the sample in from a sampler. I'll play a little of the kick for you. So, a pretty nice sounding kick, got a little top into it, but still got some nice weight on the bottom of it. So let's kind of just show you how we're EQing it and all that good stuff. So if you look here, you'll see that we have it high passed at 50 hertz. Now, oftentimes, I might high pass around 60. I might get up to 80. It just depends on the bass. But in this particular case, I do have it high pass at 50. And you see I got it low pass at about 4,000 there. And then one thing that you guys, if you've been following my channel, you know that I love using the CLA2A compressor on my kick and on some other instruments, but on certain drums mostly. And man, it just really makes a difference. So I'll play it with and without so you can just hear how that sounds. And if you'll notice, now look at the meter, we're not getting hardly any gain reduction. The meter's not hardly even moving. As you see, I got my peak reduction at about, what is that, about 38.68. And then you see my gain is at 40, so they're pretty similar. I'm not doing a bunch of makeup gain. I just like the compressor for what it adds in terms of substance. So again, that's the CLA2A, love this compressor. And then I just got some light reverb on it, and then as you can see, I do have it sidechain to my bass. So I'll go to my bass next, because one of the important things that we want to make sure that we do, obviously, is when we're programming kick and bass, is make sure that they're locking, that they're locking together. Kind of similar, in terms of how they're hitting. I mean, everything doesn't have to hit exact, but you just want them locked up together. So my bass, I'll just show you that as well. So let me bring up this screen again, show you my bass here. So I am using Sublab XL for my bass, and in this particular case, I'm using the Sub Fatty. And I can't even recall if I, made any changes internally to it, but you can just kind of see the settings here. I know I did pull this particular mix all the way back on it, and I probably, pulled this all the way up. I don't know if it was all the way up to 3. So I may have made some adjustments in the mixer, but in terms of tape and distortion, I don't really recall if I made any changes, but there you have it there. So let's take a look at the EQ that we're got the bass here. So we have this EQ'd at, I'm sorry, that is the kick. All right, here we go. Here's the bass. I was about to say that's not right. So here, as you can see, at around 37 hertz or whatever, we have it. I mean, I probably could have left it off, but I have it at 37 hertz. But then you see, in terms of the low pass, at about 4,000 is where I have it low passed. And then again, I do have it sidechain with the kick. So basically, when the kick is hitting, we'll get a little dip, a little gain reduction in the bass. So if I play those two together, so one, we want to hear how they're locking up, and then you can kind of see how the compressor is reacting as well. So there you go. So you can see how they're locked together, and then how we're just getting a couple of dB of gain reduction, when the kick is hitting as well, just to make sure that that continues to cut through. So now going back to the kick, one thing I do want to mention to you guys as it relates to the kick is, I do have a tendency, after I record my kick drum, I will go back in and try to make sure that my velocities are kind of hitting at around, the same velocity range. So you see that first kick's at 90, you got, 85, 90. So kind of all in, within really me, I try to keep the velocity within 5 of each other, just so it's not super uneven, etc. But not everything exactly the same, because you do want it to have some life to it. But that's something that I typically do with my kicks. I do it with my claps as well, just to try to keep it, a little more even in terms of the performance. And then I want to show you a couple of things with the bass. So you heard, I was playing the bass, and then you heard this little kind of run at the end that we did on the bass. I want to show you how, if you want to do something like that. So I think it's here. Let's see. So that little run or whatever. One thing that you can do to, like, once you kind of play your run in, or if you write it in, whatever you happen to do, one thing that you can do to give it that really smooth sound, all you do is you go in and you extend your notes so everything is running across the next note, and that gives you that super smooth rundown that you're hearing. So that's all, just a little tip there if you were wondering how to do that. So there's the bass, right? We got the kick. So, as I said with my claps, real simple. It is another one shot that I am using. So let's go here so you can see it. It's called a black noise. And it's just a simple clap, one shot, that I like. One thing you'll hear is super transient. So it's a real transient clap. And that's good, because we want that clap to be able to cut through, unless you're doing like the hip hop where you got the real light kind of stick or whatever. But in this particular thing, I wanted, excuse me, that clap to really kind of cut through. And as you can see here, excuse me, in terms of our EQing, we have it high passed at about, a little over 200. And then we don't even have it low passed. But we do have it high pass a little at 200. And then it looks like I'm maybe pushing about a dB at around 3,300 as well. And then again, we have the good old CLA2A just to help it cut through just a little bit. So we play it, and then we can just watch how the CLA2A is reacting. So here, so you see here, I'm getting about 2 dB of gain reduction here. And you see, so I'm a little more in my reduction, about 48. And then in terms of my gain, I'm at 37, so a much larger difference. And that's why you're seeing that 2 dB of gain reduction there, as opposed to what you saw with the kick. So if I play it, I'll play it with and without, I'll A-B it. So you hear the difference that the CLA2A makes. I just love that compressor. Absolutely love it. Okay, so we got our claps there, right? We got our bass. So the other thing that we have, and let me show you. So there, I do the same thing on my velocities with my claps. You can see here. So I'll go in, once I record it, I'll try to play it. Now these, I got them all kind of hitting just even right around, somewhere between 90 and 87 is where I have all my velocities set. And it might be a mental thing, but for me, it does make a difference in terms of having it just feel a little more even. So take it for, what it's worth. Some people might tell you that you want to have it feel more natural and have them popping all over the place. So do what you want to do. This is what I do. It works for me. So yeah, might work for you as well. You might want to try it. So the other thing that I have, and as you say, I don't have a whole bunch happening in my drums. You don't need a ton going on. But the other thing that I do have a loop. I'll play that for you guys. It's just a loop. I liked it. So I used it. Just something I like. And I don't know if you guys can see that, so let me get out of your way here. So you can see it's called Rare Pandero or something. I don't know. And I just warp and sync it again in my sampler. I just drop it into my sampler, and the tempo's at 106, so then I can warp it and sync it down to my tempo of 130. Really didn't, do too much to it. Let's see here. So we did a little, we high passed it at 90, and then we low passed it at about 8,800. Just so it wasn't too, just crispy on the top, and just a little bit of reverb, and that's it. And again, like I said, it's loop. And then what I do just in terms of panning, as you can see here, I have it just to about 12 degrees to the left, just as it relates to my panning there. All right. And then the next thing that we have a tambourine. And it's just a nice little tambourine loop. And the whole point of this is just to give me some energy, some eighth note energy, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and just a little eighth note energy to help kind of move the cue along. And then, as you can see here, as it relates to our EQ, now obviously we don't need a whole bunch of low end, so I have that high pass at 500, and then I still low pass it at 10,000 because things can get real sparkly and too crispy up there, around 12, 15K. So I just low pass it around 10K there. Now, a couple of things that I have going on here that I want to show you is I do have a dynamic EQ happening with the tambourine, and it's just so when we got those high frequencies popping, just to give it a little reduction just in that frequency range. So you see I have this set around 9,300, and just minus 2 dB of gain right there when it's hitting there. That's it, just in that frequency. And then just, you see we have this here just to have that low end cleaned out there. So, I'm sorry. And then the other thing, I had something else, right? Is I do have a compressor on this tambourine. Now, the reason that I have the compressor on here is just to even out the tambourine a bit. So if I bypass the compressor, just take a listen. It's a little uneven. It's like bop 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 or something, or bop 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 bop, something like that. Let's see. Yeah, bop 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 bop. And I just didn't want that extra kind of pop out, so I just used the compressor just to even it out. So you hear how that's much more even. So I just put some compression on it just to even it out, so it just kind of wasn't popping out as much, and then a little light reverb on that as well. So if we listen to the kick, the clap, the loop, and the tambourine, we have this. I mean, just a nice, little easy feel. And we don't have everything in, no bass, The only other thing that we're kind of missing from the, I guess, key part of our drums will be an 808 snare. And when I tell you guys, I mean, this just adds a slight little hip hop feel. It's nothing deep with this thing at all. But I do like adding the 808 snares in my hip hop cues. And again, this is probably just a one shot. Let's open it up for you here. Yep. So it's just a one shot. It's called Duppy that I'm using it. I think it might be from I Am a Music Mogul in terms of where I got it from. And again, it's in my sampler. And that way I can just play, I can play it in or whatever. So the 808 is just... And then we play with the clap so you can hear how it's playing off the clap. So just, I mean, nothing, real serious, but it just adds a little more rhythm. Kind of typically it's going to be off, the beat, a bit, etc. And just in terms of how we're treating it, we just high pass it around 200. I didn't even low pass it. Hang on, that is a clap. Let me get on 808. So we high pass this, yeah, around 178. And then we just got a little reverb on it. And that is it. And then what do we have there? And you see in terms of the panning, we have that 19 degrees to the right. So it is important, guys, to utilize your panning as well. So, all of these instruments kind of sit within their own space also. Okay, so we have that. And then before we get to the Piatti, etc., let's jump to the low brass. So for the low brass, typically what I do, so I'm using a Pandora. So we got that. I'm using center brass, master low brass. And, well, I'll come back to that. So I'll come back. So I'm using, again, like I said, the Master Low Brass, and I'm also using Pandora, right? So the Pandora, I have high passed at around 100. As you guys can see here, low passed it. It's at 2,000 because we don't need a lot of high end in it, obviously. And then it looks like I got pulling about 3 dB at around 500 hertz. All right, and then for Monster Low Brass, I have that high passed at 80, so not as high, a little lower. But I'm still pulling about 3 dB at 500 hertz, and then I still have a low pass at 2K, right? Okay, so, and basically what I'm doing with my low brass is they're kind of mirroring the bass, but since it's low brass, they're not hitting everything because I don't want it like every note, because if you play too many fast notes, they get a little mushy. So instead of ba, 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 I just have ba, ba, ba. I mean, you don't really miss it. It's pretty much the same thing. So if you hear those two with our bass, we get this. Okay, so you see they work well together. So just kind of got them, rocking there together. Now, one thing that I love to do with my low brass is I like to add a low distorted guitar layered in with my low brass. And I feel like this kind of acts like a substitute for saturation. As y'all know, saturation introduces other harmonics and some distortion or whatever. It's distortion. It introduces some upper harmonics and stuff. Well, so I think using the distorted guitar helps us in the same way because it'll help that low end kind of cut through. Because of the distorted guitar. So my distorted guitar is this. And I typically it's layered low with those, so I'll play it. But one thing I want to show you, so there you see I have that high pass at almost 270 hertz. So nothing is getting in the way of the other element, even though they're all kind of doing a certain job in the low end. So, and then one thing that I absolutely love putting on my guitar is the CLA guitars. It just sounds fantastic. And again, I re-amplify it, and I have it on a crunch setting. So if we play it with CLA, listen to the difference. I mean, that is literally night and day. This CLA is amazing. Okay, and then I have that pan about, I have that about 26 degrees right, but the reason I do is so it kind of is sitting in the same space with the low brass. So I just kind of wanted to get it kind of sitting in the same area since it's doing the same job. So that's another tip. You know, try to move, if you got instruments that are playing together or doing the same thing, try to get them all kind of sitting in that same space together. So now if we play all of those. So there you go. They sound, you know, great together. We got it just blended enough where it'll cut through. And then the other low piece that you gotta have, in my opinion, a lot of people don't use it, but I love using timpani. And I typically use it just to accent the bass, you know, just to kind of give it that additional oomph, if you will. Now I am using the Cineperk timpani, and then I am using the hard mallet. So I like the hard mallets. And then the other thing, and of course I didn't change anything, I'm using a full mix. It sounds great. But besides using a hard mallet, and I have it high passed at 80, so it's not getting in the way of our low end. It kind of sits in its own space, if you will. And then the other thing with my timpani, man, I like to be aggressive. So you'll see my velocities typically, I'm gonna be around 127 here. I mean, I'm hitting it. Boom, I want it to really sound aggressive. I'm not just looking for a light, you know, weight. I wanna feel it. I wanna feel that hit, that strike, and that really aggression on the bottom end, because I'm writing a sports cue. So I wanted to feel that way. So we kind of start this, and I'm using my timpani for the pickup to the whole cue as well. Pop, 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 and then we're in. And that's the other thing. You don't need no super long intro, man. You know, 2 beats, you know, whatever, a beat, whatever, and you're good to go. So for my timpani, just listen to a little bit of it. Okay, so that's it by itself. Now if we play it with our bass. Listen to how aggressive that timpani is. That is by design. It's on purpose. It's the way I like it. But if you hear, now I'm going to just play just the kind of mix of instruments for you, just the whole mix. But listen how, you know, it's not like just crushing the entire mix. You see? I mean, it sits nicely in the mix, but I promise you, if it's not there, you will notice that it's not there. It is really adding a lot to the aggression of the cue. Even though this cue has kind of a cool feel, we still, you know, with the low brass and timpani and stuff, we still want to have it, you know, have a aggressive type of feel to it. So the only other things that I have are just those other elements that I believe are very important to our drum section in this type of cue. And that's going to be our piatti, which is nothing but an orchestral cymbals, crash cymbals. So we have, and you know, I love using piatti, and it's just, you know, simple, guys, just for extra accents where we need them. And I like using them. I want to hear my piatti. I want to feel my piatti. So, and I'm using the Cineperk piatti as well. And as you can see here, I have these high pass at 225, and I got a light reverb on them. And then I am using dynamic EQ again, just on those frequencies that are really aggressive, just so they're not kind of popping out really crazy. So, another tip, you got some frequencies that, really are popping out. Instead of doing a whole bunch of EQing, just use a dynamic EQ and it'll just pull that frequency back just a little bit where you need it. And boom, 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 you got what you need in terms of your fix there. All right. Then the other thing that I love using is a tam tam. And I think the tam tam is great for transitions, for your transitional areas. If you really kind of want to get into a section, tam tam is perfect for that. So here's my tam tam. So you see, it acts sort of as a whoosh or swell, a riser, whatever. It takes that same, kind of approach. And sometimes I'll use it in conjunction with a riser on certain sections. Like if we go to this section here, I have a tam tam and a riser working together. So, you use it with your riser, it can work together. With your risers. Again, I'm using the Cineperk. Obviously, I like Cineperk and Cinebrass, but I'm using the Cineperk tam tam. And then here, you guys will notice in my track delay that I have about minus 40 milliseconds just so it's lining up properly. And then let's see here, got anything else going? Yeah, so I have this high pass at 100. And then again, some reverb on it, and that's about it. So the final thing that we have as part of our drums and our low brass is our tubular bells. And the tubular bells, guys, use them sparingly. Typically, it's just going to be at the top of phrases and on your button. At least that's where I kind of use it. Or if you have some kind of harmonic change or something like that. And again, the Cineperk, they're great. And the tubular bells are really cool. But all I'm doing is just pretty much hitting the root. That's it. It just adds, it says kind of hip hop, whatever. And I'll do it at the top of phrases, whatever. You see, I got one here, 8 beats later, you'll hear it again. You see between bar 21 and 37, it's 16 bars. I said 8 beats, I mean 8 bars. Here, I got 16 bars here before you hear it again. So it's not something that you use a lot, but, it does help. We play the cue. You hear that bang at the top, it just says, all right, yeah, hip hop, orchestral hip hop, etc. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to play all of those elements that we talked about together so you can hear how your drums, your low brass, and your bass work together to lay the foundation for a good sounding orchestral hip hop cue that you're going to use for sports and other things as well. They wind up you wind up writing them for sports, and they get used for sports, and if you're fortunate, they get used for other things as well. So let's just take a listen to just a little bit of how all this is balanced out, and let's listen to how they're balanced as well, because that's also very important. So there you have it. You see, guys, that, everything balances out really nicely. And it really it is the foundation for everything that you want to do as it relates to building a good foundation for your orchestral or cinematic hip hop cues. So I hope that this was informative. I hope that it helped give you just a better understanding in terms of how all these pieces work together. So that is my approach. And in part 2, I'll show you how I approach my strings, horns, high brass, and synths. So as always, thanks for watching, peace, and God bless.